So today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. In the last episode, we saw quite a lot of events happening, such as a proxy war down here in the Middle East. We had also, if I can find the right layer, a giant alliance, which being the Pentagon Alliance, forming across like the entire world. Many countries are in this alliance who kind of want to just get away from the Cold War thing. We saw the first hyperbomb be used up here in Siberia, and well, that did kind of lead to a lot of radiation forming, which we'll be taking a look at now actually. So let's just get straight into it. Starting off with the radiation, we do actually see Siberia trying to get a lot of it out of their main areas. They have some anti-nuclear technology, which the world is probably quite good on at this point. You know, there was World War IV and everything, there was loads of nukes used there. The world is quite good at, well, I guess, using anti-nuclear technology, so they're able to sort of push it out of their territory quite well and take over take the rest of Lake Baikal. And they're mainly just going to do this in their main, like, sort of areas that they used to own before, and once they pass that, they don't really care. However, this great country here, they will actually be gifted some anti-nuclear technology by Siberia, not gifted, but they'll have it for a price, and it will sort of push it out here. The magenta country will be able to do that by themselves because they are basically just completely neutral, and Siberia will, knock us a bit back. So it's really only in some areas now. It's not as bad as it was before. I was seeing the nuclear stuff quickly go down, which the hyperbomb, very strong, very big impact, which killed like 2 cities, I think. But the nuclear radiation is still the same strength as like a regular nuclear bomb, so it's able to be gone with within about probably, I'd say, maybe 5 years. Which, yeah, time is starting to move a lot faster now as we get into the later stages of the series. Now we're going to be coming down to Southeast Asia, as a pretty interesting event's going to happen, and that is many square, I guess, nationalist forces starting to arrive down in Burma. These guys are Burmese and they want to join up with the Square Alliance. Well, they're not Burmese, they're from the Dark Union. And they have a sort of, I guess, ultra-expansionist government in a way now, and the first order of business is going to be invading the rest of Vietnam, which they'll very easily be able to do and fully take over the country. However, once they take over all of Vietnam, something quite bad for them is going to happen, and that's that Cambodia is actually going to invade them. You may say, isn't Cambodia on the same side as Burma? They fought with each other in a war. Well, none of Southeast Asia was really ever on the same side. They were just working together in that one war. This region isn't very liking of each other. And, well, we have Cambodian troops coming across here, and Cambodia wants all of Southeast Asia to be neutral under one country, which could actually join the Pentagon Alliance. Now, the Dark Union didn't really have troops in Burma before. They were able to handle all their own in Vietnam. However, now some troops are starting to arrive down from China and Shandong to help out Vietnam down here. How about Burma, sorry. But that's not before the triangles will start to supply Cambodia, and we do actually see Burma completely push the Cambodians out of their territory. However, they're not able to make great advances into the Vietnamese area, and we kind of just see a huge stalemate being formed over here, as they'll actually be able to take the entirety of the coast, and they're definitely a lot better at fighting in the Vietnamese areas. And it'll basically be a huge stalemate at this point, and no one's able to break it because these troops are very evenly matched. But anyway, let's take a look at a peace treaty. So here is the peace treaty here. We see the Cambodians taking over the more viable areas of Vietnam, and the rest will be going over to the Burmese as well, yeah. And this is going to lead to a pretty predictable event, in my opinion, and that is Cambodia joining up with the Triangle Alliance. Tension is now very high as there's no barrier anymore. But anyway, someone else is now going to be developing a hyperbomb, and that predictably, if you could call it predictably, is going to be actually none other than Caspia. Now I also have to update the Dark Union because they are no longer on 3 anymore. They're now on 10, which is definitely enough to end the entire world. And as for Egypt, they are also going to go up from 1, and they're going all the way up to 6. But now we're going to be taking a look at a bit of a sad war, and that's going to be over here in Europe, as we see the Sicilians actually deciding to invade up into Italy. This is because they finally want to finish a job against a country they've hated all these years, and it looks like they're going to be able to until something happens. And that is it, the Dark Union will start an invasion of Italy at the same time to, as they say, preserve the country. Although really they just want to take a lot of land, which they're going to definitely do, and probably preserve it a little bit. But they're not just going to be getting themselves in, as Hungary is also going to be joining in on this war, and they're going to invade into parts of Italy as well. And, well, Fandabidozi, it's the end of Italy. Their capital is captured by the Dark Union due to them being a lot stronger than Sicily, like, it's not even close. But the rest will go over to Sicily, and, well, let's take a look at the division of Italy now. So this is going to be the peace treaty here. We have the northern half going over to the Dark Union. We have this region of the country in the eastern parts going over to Hungary. And this southern area here, they'll go over straight to Sicily. And they weren't quite able to finish the job. However, the Italians are actually going to do something which the Sicilians are going to hate a lot more, as Italy is going to be joining up with the Square Alliance. This is a pretty big deal, because now lots of Europe is kind of blockaded off by the Square Alliance from the parallelograms, And it'll be quite easy for the Dark Union to basically blitzkrieg through all of Italy down into the Sicilian island and take them out. Similar with Portugal, they basically just take over Italy and Iberia, and they basically win all of Europe then, which is very good for them to do. There's in the triangle thing if there's ever a war, but I mean the triangle problem is going to be a little bit easier to solve. Well, maybe not so much anymore, as the Swedish and the Norwegians will both be joining up with the Triangle Alliance, and this is due to, well, wait for this reason, it's insane, stop Dark Union expansion. The Dark Union is basically having a coalition formed against them at this point, although it's not like an active coalition, it's just like a thing. And the Russian alliance is scared because they're basically surrounded by loads of different alliances and they could get cooked. Maybe look out for them later in this episode, who knows. But anyway, we're going to see a lot of countries start to join other alliances now, as we take a look at Persia, and we'll see who they're going to join up with. I think this is a bit of an easy decision for them, but they're joining up with the Triangles, because they don't like the red team at all. Like, most of the countries don't like the red team. So they're going to try and expand the Triangle Alliance to go against the red team now, which is basically a huge motive for them. They want to kill that country once and for all. If there ever was a war between these three powers, and after this war, the winning side would just take over the whole world. It'd be very easy for them to do so. Obviously, none of these guys are joining at the same time, but over here we do see the pink Romanians joining up with the Parallelogram Alliance. They're already in it in World War IV, and they'll also get their other country here to join up with it. Now, these guys notably aren't actually communist, so the pink Romanians are going to be starting a coup in this country to turn it into a communist nation. Because even though ideology isn't really a big factor of anything anymore, you can still only be in the parallelograms if you're a communist country. It's just how it works, right? But now this is, I promise, the final country that's going to be joining an alliance. We come over to Southeast Asia as some very important countries. Actually, no, not Southeast Asia, but East Asia as some very important countries are going to be joining the Triangles. And those countries are going to be Japan and Korea. They all will be both joining the Triangle Alliance. This is because they're not the biggest fan of Shandong in the slightest. They're both more allied to each other than they are to Shandong. So I guess that's a bit interesting. But now, well, this country, they're in the middle of it and they're not going to do anything. They're actually going to be joining the Pentagon Alliance. They're pretty smart choices. There could have been a sort of proxy war that would happen in this country soon, but they joined the Pentagon Alliance because they don't want any part with any of this. And this is, I swear to God, this is the last one now, sorry. But we do have the Floridians actually joining up with the Square Alliance, which is going to start some stuff, because what about the Octagons? And despite the fact that American communism is a lot different than African communism, they're still united in some ways. As we have the Octagon Alliance basically just joining up with the parallelograms now. And yeah, well, that's interesting. But coming down to the Brazilian country, they're also going to be joining up with the parallelograms because they are communists as well. And what this is going to cause is very quickly the rest of South America to join up with an alliance. We have the Colombians and the Peruvians both joining up with the Squares, as well as this Amazon country here, as none of them really like Brazil. But interestingly, Ecuador and the Colombian Venezuelan country here are going to be joining up with the Triangles. And yeah, now no one in the Americas is neutral apart from Alaska, which is interesting. But anyway, now we're going to be seeing, I guess, our main event of today's video, or our big war happening. But anyway, now we see a pretty big event happening, as the Finnish and the rest of the Square Alliance are going to be jumping the circles. We have Finnish troops leaving Finland and starting an invasion on Russia, and this could be the biggest war in this area yet, as they'll just start taking a lot of land very quickly. Now, obviously, this isn't just Finland, this is the Dark Red Union, and a lot from the Dark Red Union. They are the strongest military power in the world. They have a huge military in this timeline, which is really showing here and why they're really able to beat back against, well, the Russians. This could have been a really bad timing, or possibly the worst timing in history, as Caspia will start their own invasion up here. And this is just to, I guess, retaliate to the Dark Red Union and free the Russians from the Dark Red Union's tyranny. They will also be doing the same thing over here with Ukraine and starting their own invasion into them. And Brown Russia, after seeing this, will very quickly be betraying both their allies, and they will leave the alliance because they're like, we don't want any part in this. Russia is going to be able to push back slightly against these guys, as they are still a decent power, and they can push back at least some bits against Finland, because they are still probably stronger a little bit than them. But it's just all the force with all these countries at the same time jumping them, which is going to lead them to have a huge fault in the south as they remain going out of Finland, and their capital gets nearly sieged. We then see one of the most risky things in history happening, as Finland will basically just go like this. Yeah, they really just do that. Well, this is known as straight blitzkrieg, I guess. This is like them blitzkrieging down here, and they'll just do the most crazy thing ever, and that is huge. And it's going to really discombobulate Russia, so now they're going to be pushed over here, and yeah, it's not looking good. And we have Hungary also starting their own invasion of Ukraine as well, and you can see that this is wow, okay, yeah, RIP Ukraine. Now Caspia will be jumping ship, I guess, into here, And Hungary is going to be like, yo, what is this? And this is really bad because there's now active troops fighting on the same exact front line. Not the same exact front line, but in the same country. So this is one of the most dangerous moments of the Second Cold War, yeah. But now we have the rest of Russia starting quickly invaded by Caspia. They are probably the third strongest military in the world at the minute. And Finland, who's probably top 20, will also sort of help with the destruction of Russia. And they will very quickly fall. As you could have predicted, yeah, they won't exist. They might exist, I don't know yet. But anyway, let's take a look at this peace treaty here. So this is going to be the peace treaty here. As you can see, Finland will probably gain the most land from this war. I mean, definitely. They gain all of this northern Russian land here in these nice, decently populated areas down here. Latvia and Poland will also get a decent bit, and Hungary will get one province from Ukraine. And then have the returning of Moldova, which I hate these borders like so much, so I'm going to be changing them. I think this is better, to be honest. We also have Russia, or the Russian Union being split, as now we just have this country and the Grey Russians coming back. And alliance-wise, well, the Circle Alliance is going to be very dissolved. And instead, these two countries, the Russians and the Moldovans, will be joining up with the Squares. And then Ukraine and the Grey Russian country will be joining up with the Triangles. So that's interesting, and for the rest of this video, I'm going to just take some time to talk about the rest of the series. Now, if you felt this episode was boring, I don't blame you, because I have 0 ideas left for the rest of the series, and, well, the ending, I promise that's going to be good. But I believe this is episode 68, so the next episode is 69. There's going to be, definitely watch that one, it's going to be a very big episode, there's going to be a big event in it. And episode 70 is also going to be very big as well, so, we'll definitely watch both of them, because episode 70 is the final of season 1. And then I am going to be doing a season 2 as well, despite the fact that I did make a post, but I did make a follow-up post saying I would be doing a season 2, because I just felt like it was better, to be honest. I didn't want to just leave Wixo as it is. I felt like this series it isn't great recently, in my opinion. I think I could have been doing a lot better with these last few episodes. And I also have a bunch of ideas for season 2, which I want to share with you guys. That's why I'm doing one. And finally, I want to thank you guys so much for today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.